In fact, you have seen nothing of life. You know absolutely nothing of it, and are only theoretically acquainted with reality. Good morning and welcome to my video. I'm going to be taking you guys along a day in my life. Yesterday I took my last final and it was oncology, and I really enjoyed the classes this semester, but I definitely need a little bit of a break before I start studying again. I do still need to keep up with my Anki cards, but that's become a habit and it's something that I kind of enjoy now. So that's the only form of studying that I'll be doing for the next couple of days. But as for today and the next few days, I really just want to read and sit around, honestly. So I'm not really sure how interesting this video will be, but that's the plan. Also, I want to organize my books because my dad set up new bookshelves. We didn't have enough space for the books we had. What I'm going to be reading is I'm going to finish a short story that I started, Ward number 6. And it's one of Chekhov's longer short stories. And honestly, it was off to a really bad start for me. The first few pages I really didn't enjoy, but right now I'm enjoying it. That's the plan for today, and I hope you're having a good day so far. If you're reading anything, let me know what it is. Whether or not you're enjoying it, I would love to hear about it. So I finished reading Ward number 6, and I wanted to talk a bit about the story since I enjoyed it, and there are some parts that I felt were particularly interesting. But to give some context without any spoilers, it tells the story of this hospital that houses these 5 individuals who are deemed mentally ill and essentially unfit for society. This institute is run by this doctor, and there are several unethical practices that take place within this facility. And the doctor is very aware of this fact, but he essentially uses Stoicism to clear his conscience. And he uses that as an excuse for why he's not doing anything about it, even though he's aware that these things are taking place. And essentially he starts visiting this one inmate. His name is Ivan Dimitrich, and he begins conversing with him, and Ivan essentially points that out to him. But I felt like it gave me a new perspective on Stoicism that I've never thought of before. I felt like reading an excerpt that stood out to me. Essentially, in this part of the story, the doctor is trying to convey why he's a Stoic and how the idea of pain is mental. And essentially, he argues that the extent to which you feel pain is directly correlated with how much pain you think you should feel. So it's very much so related to how you think or perceive the amount of pain that that event should inflict. So theoretically, if you wanted to, you could approach any situation and not feel any pain at all. And he points out this quote by Marcus Aurelius that says, "A pain is a vivid idea of pain. Make an effort of will to change that idea. Dismiss it, cease to complain, and the pain will disappear." And Ivan Dimitrich, the inmate in the hospital, disagrees. And he says, "I only know that God has created me of warm blood and nerves. Yes, indeed. If organic tissue is capable of life, it must react to every stimulus, and I do. To pain, I respond with tears and outcries. To baseness, with indignation. To filth, with loathing. To my mind, that is just what is called life. The lower the organism, the less sensitive it is, and the more feebly it reacts to stimulus. And the higher it is, the more responsively and vigorously it reacts to reality. How is it you don't know that? A doctor, and not know such trifles. Yvonne also points out that a big part of the reason of why the doctor is able to approach life with this perspective is because he's never suffered before in his life. And he tells him, in fact, you have seen nothing of life. You know absolutely nothing of it, and are only theoretically acquainted with reality. You despise suffering and are surprised at nothing for a very simple reason. Vanity of vanities, the external and the internal, contempt for life, for suffering and for death, comprehension, true happiness. That's the philosophy that suits the Russian sluggard best. You see a peasant beating his wife, for instance. Why interfere? Let him beat her. They will both die sooner or later anyway. And besides, he who beats injures by his blows not the person he is beating, but himself. To get drunk is stupid and unseemly. But if you drink, you die. And if you don't drink, you die. A peasant woman comes with toothache. Well, what of it? Pain is the idea of pain. And besides, there is no living in this world without illness. We shall all die. And so, go away, woman. Don't hinder me from thinking and drinking vodka. A young man asks advice. What he is to do, how he is to live. Anyone else would think before answering, but you have got the answer ready. Strive for comprehension, or for true happiness. And what is that fantastic true happiness? There's no answer, of course. We are kept here behind barred windows, tortured, left to rot. But that is very good and reasonable, because there is no difference at all between this ward and a warm, snug study. A convenient philosophy. You can do nothing, and your conscience is clear, and you feel you are wise. No, sir, it is not philosophy. It's not thinking. It's not breadth of vision, but laziness, fakirism, drowsy stupefaction. Yes, cried Ivan Dmitrich, getting angry again. You despise suffering, but I'll be bound if you pinch your finger in the door, you will howl at the top of your voice. I'm going to start reading Diary by Chuck Palahniuk, and I'll just read the back to give you an idea of what the story is about. Misty Wilmot has had it. Once a promising young artist, she's drinking too much and working as a waitress in a hotel. Her husband, a contractor, is in a coma after a suicide attempt, and his clients are threatening Misty with lawsuits over a series of vile messages they've discovered on the walls of houses he's remodeled. Suddenly, Misty's artistic talent returns. Inspired but confused by a burst of creativity, she soon finds herself a pawn in a larger conspiracy that threatens to cost hundreds of lives. What unfolds is a dark, hilarious story from America's most inventive nihilist and Palahniuk's most impressive work to date. Sounds pretty interesting. I think this is considered horror fiction, if I'm not wrong, and I'm looking forward to see whether or not I'll like it.